Welcome, everybody, to week 4 of the seasonal anime survivor show, where we started 12 shows at the beginning of this anime season, spring 2021, and we're going to vote one off every week until we have one show that wins. Last week, we voted off the slime show, where the witch kills slimes and leveled up to max level. Kind of got boring, so we voted it off. And just a heads up, there are spoilers in this. And this is the 4th week, so we're going to be discussing the 4th episodes of all of the shows we're watching. And there will be timestamps if you only want to watch the episode review for shows that you've seen, if you've only seen some of the shows. And then you could skip to the end and see what show got voted off. Anyway, we're going to move right into the discussion, and we'll start by discussing episode 4 of 86.
Wow, what a nothing burger this episode was.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I forgot what happened, and then I looked at my notes, and it's like nothing happened.
Do you remember the end of episode 3 where the guy went off on the handler about, you don't care about us, you don't even know our names?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The entire episode was just, they have a brief conversation about that, dragged out for 20 minutes, effectively.
Yeah, I do remember, I actually didn't know that, it was I made a comment here that a little long, but not bad to me. I felt impatient, but I was also like, you know what, this is still okay. I can still watch this. I'm down. But it was definitely a little long. It was just, I feel like if they could have just made it a little more condensed, it would have been fine, but it was drawn out a little bit too long.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty patient, but it's just a little too long for me.
Character development is nice, but they're, taking their sweet time with it, damn.
I made a comment that it wasn't cheesy, though. It wasn't, done poorly. It was literally just too long. It was only a timing issue, it didn't feel, corny or cheesy or not. It just felt, it was just slow. That was the...
Is it weird that I wish there was filler in this episode just to, keep the pace moving a little bit quicker?
Was there? I forget what even happened other than her at the cemetery hearing the names.
It was her at the cemetery talking to them, and then them all having a conversation about that on their side. Yeah, that was pretty much it. They just kind of sat around in the lounge and talked.
Did we get the backstory about her father was like?
Oh, that happened too. That's what it was. Her father took her onto the battlefield, and then presumably they got shot down, and he died, and that's why she cares.
So
I guess
know that there's a reason for her to be super caring of these people. It was which is in reality, this is likely why this would happen. Is you have a parent that sort of had these ideals and it carried on. It's really unlikely that somebody would just naturally, with no influence in this blocked off world, ever grow these sympathetic feelings if she didn't have any influence. So it's cool to see there was an influence that sort of
her
was
father.
the kick.
So
because as long as we'd love to believe that if somebody's raised a certain way that they can easily just change it, that's just not true. Most of the times people change. Well, it's not that it can't happen; it's that it's unlikely to happen. Of course, it can still happen, but it's so it's cool to see that this is a realistic portrayal of it makes sense that she had as a child was had a sympathetic person to the 86 people in her. Was it her father or grandfather? I don't know.
It was her father.
It was her father. Yeah. So that was cool. But otherwise, it was just really drawn out and a little slow. But I don't know. I'm kind of still hopeful for this. I think it's gonna. I mean, I kind of read an episode discussion on Mal, and then it turns out this is a really long light novel thing. So this is probably just going to end with some arc, and
maybe not even get a second season.
Yeah, it probably won't get a second season, but
yeah,
that at least gives me hope for the story in general, because it's
something will happen at the end of the season. We'll see.
At this pace, it doesn't make sense for the amount of episodes it has, because it's just not fast enough.
And I guess they blew all their budget in episode 2 with that big fight scene we were so impressed with, because here I was hoping we'd get one episode of just people kind of hanging around and talking, and then one episode of
I was saying it was
robots
off, but it might be
fighting, but
and maybe every 3 or something, which I think
we'll find out. What is
We'll
the
see.
density of like robot
We
action?
don't know. Maybe it's just like this is the pacing of the story that it's based off of, and it just happens that this happened, so they had to cover it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I would rather they say faithful to the source material if it's based directly on a light novel, but at the same time, like, it is dragging a little bit. So
yeah. I definitely my first comment is it was just a little long. It was a little long. This is the kind of thing that like I don't know. I'd almost like this to be a long series, and because it's like it could be good. I don't know, but it's like so. It's just
yeah,
a little slow, and it's like not got a lot of episodes in the tank.
yeah. I guess the one thing of note happened in the last like 30 seconds of the episode where
Oh yeah, there was that his
it's
older brother. She knew him from something.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
just revealed that she worked with his older brother once, I guess.
yeah.
So maybe that'll be like maybe the fact that she had a personal connection with the brother will help him open up a bit. I don't know.
Yep. I don't have anything else to say though. It's
Me
Yeah.
neither.
You two summed up my thoughts for me. Just
yeah.
it just happened the way it had to happen.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
All right. Let's discuss episode 4 of Fumetsu no Anata. Uh,
So this was a little underwhelming as compared to previous episodes of the show. Like it was still good, but it didn't have any of those
Yeah.
like you know those gut punch emotional moments that the show started with.
I know what you mean. I think we're out of the love at first sight period of the show because now it's settled into the standard pacing of the narrative rather than hitting with the opening pitch. I do appreciate the world building detail. Like we're definitely like more far in technology and society wise than I was expecting. But I do like the way they, like there's that person who's writing the letters, and March just went out and says, "Well, it's just like, yeah, March doesn't know how to write," and I appreciate that little detail of it's the opening up of the bureaucracy, and it shows us like how societies in that time period are operated, and I
well, man,
appreciate it's like a show than show, not tell.
well, I think they really
Yeah.
well, had already told it before that by the discussion with the old woman. There's the Yanome society that's basically just manipulating the Ninana society, and they're just
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah,
using
but I don't
the
see that too often in shows where they just show like an insignificant detail and tie it into character wise. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's just like showing more of the details. Like I feel like the main point of this episode was to establish the societal difference between Yanome or whatever, which is like Hayase's, I guess she's one of them, and then the Ninane, which is like what March and everyone else is. And they're just being manipulated for resources essentially. And they're using the religion as like as like the sacrifice and stuff. It's like sort of like a disguised way they can sort of like interact with them, but essentially just get their resources or something. So that's
Which
sort of
is,
what's established here.
Yeah.
it's better than just wiping out their tribe, but it's only like slightly better off.
Yeah, it's like a United States and Native Americans, right? We just
United States and everyone.
Mm,
We
we casually made deals and then like would later kill and then casually make a deal later. And you would
nah,
just
I would say it's like U.S. and Latin America, but that's speaking of the point.
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
that there's enough nuance to really make an exact comment, but maybe if you know more, it's similar
But
to that.
we've
Well, we're
seen
not
this
in that
sort of
time
thing
period.
historically over and over and over. So this is
Yeah, it's the idea of like you make a deal, but that's not really. They're just going to eventually take more anyway. Kind of. It's like
what's the line from Star Wars? I have altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it further.
but you always alter it further if you're the one with more power, kind of.
Yeah. So, how much do you want to bet that Dog Boy there turns into the bear next episode?
Well, yeah, he absorbed the soul. They said that they said the vessel opened or whatever, and he said thanks because he said thanks when it
when it died.
yeah, the
I thought,
moment it died.
yeah,
So it's
it
like
was a little vague because I thought you had to be like,
it's all the feeding, so it's like he fed on the soul and can probably transform it
oh
into it
my
now. That's what
gosh,
you
I
would
can't wait till
what
he
it all
turns into
leads
the
me to
bear. That's gonna be
expect.
badass.
Or it could be a misdirect and it's some other power that he gained from it, but it's probably just transform into the bear, is what you would think, right?
Yeah, they haven't shown him having any powers besides just being immortal and transforming into stuff. So
Yeah.
that would be weird if they introduced anything new now. But yeah, if he has wolf form, mega bear form, and human form, that'd be pretty cool.
I guess the other thing this episode established, other than the societal stuff, is just like Hayase is probably like the main antagonist, maybe more established as like more of a long-term antagonist, perhaps, or maybe
Yeah.
just um,
Yeah, I appreciate that they didn't try to make like Hayase turn over a new leaf. Of course, Hayase would want to keep them prisoners for life and try to figure out what's
How to take advantage of the
uh
situation with the bear.
yeah, like trying to figure out how to like because the big bear's dead and there goes their trump card. So yeah, Ayase's gonna figure out a new strategy and take advantage of what did March name the wolf boy? I know she named him something.
Man,
it
bear,
was like food.
wolf.
No, it's no, it started with an F. But
It's
anyway, I think yeah, Ayase is definitely aware of his powers. So,
But he
but
doesn't know how to say much of anything.
yeah, he just knows how to say thank you.
Am I the only one who was like a little creeped out by him? Like him and Dogmo just like pacing around in the corner, just going, "It hurts, it hurts, it hurts." Like, ugh.
Itai, or yeah.
And is that in that like growly dog voice? Like that's a little creepy, homie. Like,
Well, he's definitely not from that planet.
no.
Yeah, he's acting
I
like he's
really
learning a
hope they,
language in real time.
yeah, slowly. I hope they pick up the pace on that and he can like interact with the characters soon enough. At
I
least a
actually
little
like
bit.
that they're doing it slow. Honestly,
Yeah, I
I'm
guess.
impressed that they didn't rush it. Actually, I like the pacing of that.
Let's just say I'm hoping by like the end of the season he can like make basic sentences.
Oh yeah, by the end of the season certainly, but I'm glad it's not like one episode, like episode 3, he can talk already or something.
Yeah, that
That's
would be like, where would he learn that from? But we'll see. So
yep.
Prison
I
Break is
actually like
happening.
this is probably my favorite episode. I liked the world opening up here. Like
I guess
I think you guys liked the super emotional episode 1 a lot more, and I'm like more into the other stuff the show's doing.
I will give it that. I'm glad it keeps like the setting. It keeps moving forward, and from each episode's in a new place. Like here, we were in the big city and the prison. So I would imagine 2 episodes from now we'll probably have moved on to another location. Like,
I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like it
moving back
might
to the village,
develop
probably.
this, societal conflict more. We might be dealing a lot with that.
oh,
I
you
feel
think?
like
Well, I guess yeah, they're kind of setting it up to like
because they're going
focus the
back in
plot on the
the
two.
non, no, whatever their village name is. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like the conflict between those two is, I guess, is going to end up being like the plot of the season.
Or at least this is a 22 episode show,
Oh, okay.
so
I
it'll
did not
probably
know
be an
that.
early arc at least that, and then there might be some other stuff in the tail end that might be different. Hard to
Yeah,
say.
we shall see.
Yep, that's
Yep.
all I have to say.
I'm excited for more episodes.
I'm interested
It's
to see
gonna
where
be
this
fun.
goes.
Okay, let's move on to Godzilla Singular Point. This episode was confusing as fuck. I don't know what the people in the hole were doing. Like there's like that big hole. I don't know any of who those people are. I even rewatched it and I was like, who are these people? I don't know who they are.
Hmm.
Did you guys know?
Nah, this was
Like,
just a weird episode that I feel like it's trying to do like setup for things to come,
But
but
you feel like they haven't done enough context setup before, like trying to make these characters more memorable to you.
Yeah, it's like the show seems a little like ADHD. Like it's having a hard time like picking a direction and sticking with it because it's just following so many different plot threads. Like, oh yeah, this episode, oh a new monster showed up and it's like a Stegosaurus. Ooh, and they spend the episode tracking it, and then the
Well,
other
I was
girl
like,
goes to like a
the
conference about like a meta
what's
material.
not consistent is like literally like they showed that big giant pit with those people, and I don't even know who they are, or who they're related to, like because it's not the same guy that's like the got mayor at the town or whatever. It's some other group of people, and I don't have they shown up before, and I'm just dumb.
So I'm gonna extrapolate a little bit just based on the I think from either the OP or the ED that that they're some sort of like military people, and inside of that pit is Mecha Godzilla,
Okay.
and they're bringing it out to like fight the Rodens, the dinosaurs, or maybe they know that there's a Godzilla on the way and they want to like get ready to fight it. I don't know, but like so I think that's what's going on there. Is they have big robot Mecha Godzilla and they're like bringing it out of retirement. And that these people are all the people in charge of that, and that's separate from the radio station people who are like in charge of like safeguarding the corpse of the original Godzilla. I think that's what's going on. Obviously, the show doesn't explain anything outright,
Like
but
a little like outside of that, I've been pretty. There's nothing in the show that really threw me for a loop. But that was like I just don't know who these people are, and I'm confused. I was
like
and
I said,
even
I'm just extrapolating based on the like very quick scenes in the opening. But I think that's what's going on there. That's just my prediction. We'll see.
I really liked the thing they did like with the hashing functions. They actually like they explained that perfectly. That was like really cool. I liked that. That
I'm
was
sure you
like
did, Mr.
when they
Computer
include, like,
Programmer.
when they include like something that's like accurate and they don't fuck it up, and it's like, oh, that's cool. They explained this to like I like that's something you could give like anyone. It sort of explains how hashing like what are the purpose of hashing functions and what they do. Although MD5 is absolutely don't use MD5. They they used MD5, which uh you can you can't do this you can't like get the password from MD5, I think, but I think the issue with it is if you have the thing that create if like say if you have the file that created that hash, you can then use that to create another file that has the exact same MD5 hash. There's some sort of vulnerability like that, and then say if somebody's like signed the file to like to be sit you could then you could spoof it by then creating another like some malicious file with the same hash and then send that file to a person, and then they could even if they verified it it would check out and think, oh, it's the same hash, so it's the same file, and it actually might not be the same file. So there's a that's irrelevant though.
Yeah, you're going a bit into it,
The
but
specific hashing function is totally irrelevant. They explained the concept perfectly, and I was like, oh, this is cool, nice little nugget. It's like I love like when something covers something that you maybe know about and they don't fuck it up. And it's like, oh cool,
yeah.
they did their basic level research. And I was
Is
like,
this
that's
going to
cool.
be revisited or plot relevant ever in the future, do you think?
No, it's just a good attention to detail feature that they used in a cool way, and it was like
Okay. Because they focused
it,
hard on that in this episode, and if that was just to like make this one episode a bit more entertaining, then fine. But like, they focused on it hard. Like thought this would be a plot point for longer, but then
no,
they
it's not like
like,
a plot point. It's just like a little joke where he's like, oh, you got to solve the password, and then she
yeah, but
guesses,
they
and it's like
spend
a little riddle.
all
It's just fun.
episode on
But
it.
the fact is that they had the little AI explain it, and it was like actually like, yeah, that's what hashing functions are. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's a one-way function where you can't once you have the output, you can't go backwards and get the input, and that's like
Yeah. What else do we think about this episode? Like, what's gonna
there's like
happen next?
material that like oh light particles are moving through time, and see I don't know if this is bullshit because I'm not a physics person.
That's
Maybe that's
super
probably
bullshit. You
bullshit.
can't like travel energy through time.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I mean, I guess you could, but like not with like magic molecules.
yeah.
That's not a thing. presumably this is all being explained so that they can tie in that, like, what was the name of this material? I forget.
I don't care. It's a
Whatever it
magic.
was, I'm pretty sure they're just going to confirm that, like, all of the monsters in the show are made out of that material, and that's why they're, like, weird and bizarre and freaky, and they just show up out of nowhere. And
Cool. Of
just to, like,
course.
explain away, like, oh yeah, these monsters are just, like, biologically impossible and have magic powers. We don't have to
That's
explain it
cool.
because they're made of magic molecules. Acceptable to me. So,
Fine with me too. Yeah.
but they're taking a long time to build that up. So,
Right.
Anyway, I liked their one little nugget of cool fact that they covered it well. So I liked the episode. I don't know. Okay, we can move on to Hige o Soru, soshite Joshikousei o Hirou. I shaved my beard and brought home a high school girl. I liked this episode. This episode was cool.
this one was,
Uh,
but like
we had a
odd,
lot of
but
stuff
like,
out of this episode.
yeah.
Yeah, can you believe that Sayu actually got a job? I wasn't expecting that at all.
Well, I
was
mean, that's
Well, she
probably
seems
easy
pretty
enough. And
decent. She seems like the kind of person that wants to take responsibility, but she's like kind of been fucked over or something. So I don't know. That makes sense.
Yeah, but well, at least, the person who likely got suspicious of her circumstances was actually a new friend rather than a concerned manager. So, I'm really grateful that the show didn't end at that early point.
Well, it's not going. The show's never going to end in like some boring, obvious thing. Like, of course they're gonna make a show out of it.
Yeah, what do you all think about Yuki Asami? I think she was alright. She's definitely I think she's definitely gonna be a good influence for Sayu, because she's like a female friend around her age.
yeah, I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad that yeah, our main girl's getting some friends of her own, and the show's not just focusing on main guy hitting on his coworkers every episode. Because that's fine and well, but like, let's have some more.
Was hitting on him and him just being like meh the whole time,
Yeah, like it's
basically.
like let's have some development for both our characters, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Asami is cool. She's like, she has like the Gyaru look, but she's like actually surprisingly got her head on straight and very perceptive, and so it's like the beats the stereotype, which is cool.
Mm. Very happy with that front.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole Goto being like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I was just not ready, and I actually liked you." And
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's just
That's
that took me
just
out of the show for a
weird.
few minutes.
Yeah,
I-
that was like. This is
Out of
not a
left
thing that
field.
like human beings do typically. I mean, like maybe I guess, but that's like very.
well, actually, I when I thought about it on the second thought, if she's actually a virgin, and remember the guy asked like, "Will you come to my apartment?" So it actually was. It's kind of like a big jump, right? And maybe she was
Okay, I
like so
guess like
nervous that she like instead of just being rational, because if she actually like really did like him a lot, and then that's
no.
the
Okay.
maybe out of shock, she's like, yeah, because she doesn't want to say yes, but
Okay,
she also
I
doesn't.
guess coming from that angle, I can see it.
And
Yeah.
so maybe there's a little because of the specifically what he asked her in the first episode was like, "Do you want to come to my apartment?" He didn't ask her like, "Hey, I'm into you." He like, and so, and maybe she just wasn't emotionally ready to say, "Oh, I'm also into you, but I don't want to come to your apartment," which is like maybe that's hard for some people to like in the heat of the moment to like respond that way, where you say, "No, but I am interested in you."
No. Yeah, I could see that. That's I didn't really remember how the conversation went down in the first episode exactly, so.
Like
But
like
that
the
makes a
opening.
little more sense.
He was just staring at her boobs, and then he's like, "Hey, do you want to come to my?" That was like the first scene of the show. Uh,
But that was an odd way for that
and also,
conversation to
it makes
resolve.
more sense. Like, remember how she had some jealousy towards Mishima, the younger girl, and it actually really makes a lot of sense. Like if Mishima's like what 23, 24, and now she's probably like self-conscious because maybe Gozo's maybe like 30 and she's older, and so her having like jealousy towards the younger girl in the office, if she actually does like Yoshida-san, all of that emotion and some of her behavior makes a lot more sense with this information. So it was like the more I thought about it, the more I was like, this is actually pretty well done and makes sense with what has happened so far, at least to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this show continues to impress me week after week, and I now expect this show to do so for the rest of the season.
Oh, also Asami, when like he was walking home with her, he was like, I loved the part where he admits it's a lie, but like says, I yes, it's a lie, but
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not going to
but I'm not
explain her
gonna make.
situation. That was
I'm
so
just
good.
not
Like,
gonna bother making up another lie. I'm just not gonna tell you.
but he said, but also being respectful and saying, yeah, it's not my place to tell you if she won't tell
Yeah,
you, and that was so
that scene was really good. I like that.
good. And
Once again, main dude proves that he is hashtag our guy.
And then also there was this interesting flashback that I had paused just to see what it was. There's like where
Oh
saw
yeah.
you after she got the call. So it was there was like 3 or 4 frames. There's a few different frames. One was it was her at night like looking at one of the guys. I don't know if it was a specific. Maybe it's a specific one, but it was like one of the guys that I guess she saw late at night and took her home. And then it's her. It's literally her being fucked basically. And then it's a phone that was thrown away. So at some point she had a phone and threw it away. So maybe she was being stalked perhaps by one of these guys. I'm not sure. Um, and then there was like there's literally one frame of she's looking at her hand. It's like the Ava scene. There's just cum in her hand. Uh, like this was like that was all in that quick flashback. There's like so I guess she's looking in regret at what she's been doing. And then finally there's a school like a schoolgirl saying Sayu-chan on like the roof of a school building. So that's an interesting there's a lot there in that flashback. It was like I mean you can't see it unless you actually pause the frames to
Yeah,
see what it was, but that's what
I
it was.
assume what they're trying to drive home with that is the just that she's not as okay with what she's been doing lately as she likes to let on. Like she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm fine. It's all okay. I
Also the phone being thrown away. She had a phone and threw it away. So that's I wonder if she was stalked by a guy or was it her family trying to contact her? Which one of those two?
Did she say
Um,
when she was first picked up in the first episode that she threw her phone out? So
maybe I just missed.
I didn't think that was new information, but maybe.
Okay. But I wonder if it was it the
And
family or
that
like
that would have
something.
been why he got her a new phone in that one episode. But maybe that means that giving her the phone had more like emotional significance than he realized. Possibly.
Yeah, but like if you look at the sequence of the frames that were shown, it was like one of the random guys, her in bed, and then the phone being thrown away. So I wonder if like there was a specific guy that was stalking her and she had to throw away the phone. I wonder if it was related to that.
Who knows? I'm sure we'll find
I
out.
don't know. That was a cool little nugget. It's like
I imagine the direction the show's going to take is starting to focus on like things from her past coming into her new life and
yeah,
shaking things up for the worse, I would assume.
yeah. But this show is it's just like surprisingly gotten like it's the kind of show where it's like I thought it was likely to go down, but it's actually gotten more interesting over time. So
Yeah. It feels like it's still setting some stuff up and it's not rushing, but we'll we'll see where it goes. I think it's building up to like some like bigger plot drama coming soon. So it's just it's just setting the stage for some like big moments.
That is a bit of a risk, but I think from this show's writing so far, I think at worst it's just gonna be awkward or cheesy, but at its best it could really hit it out the park.
We shall
Yeah.
No
see.
doubt about it.
Okay, we can move on to this week in Nagatoro-san.
So this is okay. So this show is interesting because it's the only one where each episode is like 2 mini episodes. And so I kind of have to look at these two separately because the first one was painful to watch and probably my least favorite so far. But then the second half was wonderful and probably one of the best we've had so far.
I like the second better, but I didn't hate the first. It's just like being harassed like that is super
Yeah.
uncomfortable or something to you. I mean, I'm not saying it's okay for that to be a thing that would happen, but I'm just
Also, on top of that, it's pretty clear from watching this first episode that the author of our show here does not understand how boobs work. But that's we don't need to delve into that. Let's just say that was weird. Additionally, like, think about this whole first half of this episode and being forced into groping a one of your schoolmates of the opposite gender. Imagine if this whole episode was gender swapped, how incredibly like creepy and rapey it would be.
well, I mean, of course, I mean, it's not ever not going to not be that. It's not. But I mean, I think entertaining ideas is different than saying it's like okay for that to happen. Yes, I don't think we should encourage.
No, and I don't
I
think the
don't
show's
think
saying
it's
that, but
framed in
that's
a
like,
positive way that is a good thing to be doing. It's like I don't think it's like, hey, these are good girls for doing this. It's like, hey, they're kind of being kind of shitty here.
yeah, like,
So I don't think the takeaway should be say it's not saying like, oh, this is okay that they did this, but it's
yeah, it's just the whole thing has just like an icky vibe to it that like, ugh, wasn't my deal.
I don't know.
Second,
I love Nagatoro being jealous. It's like so good. She's like, oh no, oh, okay, you didn't actually. They it was actually just it was a just the food or whatever. So it's okay. I'm not mad anymore. Like her turnaround on a dime to not be as mad about it and that little bit.
so I guess the takeaway from this whole thing is I need to start shoving Cinnabons down my shirt.
Uh,
Okay, got it. Second half, really enjoyed this. This was like, it was kind of a nice moment between the two of them.
Also, just like the classic, like envy is like one of the least attractive characteristics you can have. So just don't like because the baseball players. You don't need to be jealous of it. You can do your own thing and do
Exactly, and
whatever.
she's trying to like build up his confidence in himself, and that's actually kind of admirable. Her methods may be a bit brash, but
Oh yeah, and then he complimented her kick, and she blushed. That was cute.
yeah, that was cute. And she just falls asleep on the couch, and his drawing's actually really good. And you can tell if she thinks it's really good, and she just doesn't want to like
Yeah,
say
but she
it.
continues to close your eyes. The meme. It's like every. I'm guessing that'll just be an ongoing thing. Will always be some other thing, something different, maybe.
Yeah, but that was I feel like that was a really good moment in the show. That so the second half of this episode, definitely applaud. I enjoyed it.
I mean, what's weird about this is I can relate to like the not like being forced to grab the girl's boob, but I mean, I had when I was like a freshman in high school, I had two older girls that like did things that were like similar-ish, like not that bad, but like so it's like weird. I can kind of relate. No, I don't. No, it's not. It's not. You don't like it. You don't want that to be in that situation. So,
Oh no,
but it's
I've that whole episode, like I blamed all of that on, like I blame all of the that on the two
on her
girls. They
friend.
were absolutely
Oh,
just
Nagatoro's friends, and so I definitely I've been in a situation like with two girls like that in high school, kind of, which is uh definitely kind of weird, where they're kind of messing with you, and
yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
I wonder because they have been like multiple times shown to be like total assholes to to our guy here. If
And
this
honestly,
like
you
later in
can't
the
like
season, this is gonna
like
build up to a conflict between
like it's a weird situation because you can't like you don't know how to stand up to yourself because they're girls, I guess, and it's like you can't like you're afraid that like, you can't like be physical like with a guy you might push them away, right? Like it's such a weird kind of thing. So
yeah,
I don't know.
that's like I said, the two of them are absolutely like it's entirely their fault and they're being total assholes in here and
Yes,
obviously going way too far.
I don't
And
know.
the
I
fact that they've like multiple times harassed our main guy here, I think later this season, it's I'm curious to see if Nagatoro ends up like having a falling out with the two of them, or they get in like an actual fight or
or maybe
something.
they just like she like gets them to stop being that way. Maybe I would
Maybe, but
prefer
like
that than falling out.
I feel like that's going to be a plot point in the road of like they're gonna
Yeah,
push her
something
to
finally being
yeah,
said,
something's
and
gonna snap and they're
instead
gonna
of
push her too
just being
far.
like sort of silently upset about it, her actually doing something about it, maybe.
Yeah, and either she's gonna
Maybe even our main character doing something about it. Either
oh
way.
yeah, that would be great if he's the one who stands up for her, and that would be a big character moment. So I think you just saw the future. I bet you that's gonna
Yeah, the show's been good. I've really liked the show
yeah.
so far.
So I like it's and even though it's doubly episodic because we're getting two little minisodes each week, it feels like progress is being made. Our main guy is not so much of a introvert, and he's a bit more confident in himself, and she's learning to be a little bit nicer to him.
And I just like the base premise too. Like I am just into the base like uh girl bullies you premise, but more than that, it's like further than that. It does the premise well, but then also has all of the development on top of just if you already like the premise. So this show has just been good overall for me.
Mm. Yeah, I think the show is just having its cake and eating it too, and I think it's does an alright job of bouncing in between, and I think that's all really I can expect from the show. I'm still enjoying the Nagatoro as a character, and Senpai is okay too, as long as they just do alright on developing these characters on a well-run basis. I can just keep on coming back to the show for some fun.
Okay, let's move on to episode 4 of Shadow's House.
Ooh,
So a lot of stuff happened this episode.
Yep, I got what I wanted from last week. No doubt about it.
yeah. So we've got to be introduced to some more of the dolls
Yep.
from the other kids, and get to
Yeah, the
like
main cast.
and
I
more.
think your theory about them being humans, yeah, I think they might just be human at this point. Like it's with the Sean can't wear glasses because his master doesn't wear glasses, but he can't see. It's just
Yeah,
like
like
it's so sad.
I'm calling it now. The dolls are humans that they cart in on that train that you see it in episode 1, and then it's like in the ED every episode. They cart humans
Yeah.
in on a train, make a shadow clone of them, and then make the shadow clone like the quote unquote real one, and make the human the copy, and like wipe all of everyone's memories.
Hmm.
I think that's what's going on, and that's what like it's building up to, and we're gonna find out. That's gonna be like the big reveal. But
Man, and like the part where like we finally see they can't just like they're staying up all night, but they have to sleep. They have normal human symptoms of not being sleeping
exactly,
too.
like nothing we've seen so far indicates them not being normal humans.
Yeah,
So
and like
I gotta wonder like what's going on. Probably that, but like obviously nothing's confirmed. This is just like I feel like those puzzle pieces fit in well.
And I like how you have the conflict between the dolls, like trying to wrestle for their like positioning in the house. Like you have Barbie just being mean to everybody, and then you have like the Ricky doll was like the blonde doll. He was like they're all like positioning for like their perception in the house standing. It reminds me of like the like in Django, you had like the one slave that was like extra loyal or whatever.
Yeah, Samuel L.
Yeah,
Jackson.
I remember that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that.
Yeah, being more extra racist than most of the slave owners.
Yeah, you have the extra loyal dolls that are like sort of jockeying for position in the doll hierarchy or whatever.
Yeah, and they're building up to the what do they call it? The
New presentation show
yeah, that
about
what's
which
the what's
shadows are gonna can be
Debut
made to the family
for the
proper.
it's I look I mean it's Ohirome I think, but it's like I looked at my subs were debut.
yeah, I
Well, I
think it's
don't
the
know what your
debut is
subs
what they
were.
call it in my
Uh,
subs, but we all get the gist of what that is, and I have a feeling what it
Yeah.
is this is going to be a thing where it's like the shadow and the doll for the first time get like carted out in front of everybody, and we see how well the pair meshes and like how in sync with each other they are, and the ones that pass the test move on to another part of the house, and the ones that don't get like presumably killed or
And
otherwise
this
disposed of, and they
and
just
this
try again with another batch of humans.
yeah, and show like in the episode that there are some forces that seek to strain the bond between Kay and Mirko, because we saw in the scene that when Kate's not interacting with Mirko, she's just seen getting stressed because she's getting anxious about the debut, and you see the suit that's flying on from her head.
no, Kate has something that like at the end of the episode she's like she said there's something she needs to do. So Kate has something that on her mind. I don't know if that's just the
Well, the
we'll just
fact that
call it
she's like trying to explore the house, and I think it's like there's somewhere she needs to go or some piece of information that she needs to find out on Kate's behalf to like help Kate figure out like what she needs to do. And there's no way that she can find it because she's not allowed to leave her room.
yeah. And then there's interesting like they have the pipes for the soot and it like can actually like leak and just build up the freaking monsters like if it because there's a
Yeah.
leak in the pipe. That's interesting.
So, we gonna talk about that hallway?
Oh, the dead
Yeah, the
doom hall.
Indiana Jones Temple of Doom hallway.
I don't know Indiana Jones. I just said Doom. I didn't know there was a thing
Or
that's
whichever
exact.
one it is. It's you know the trope. You're walking through the old temple and the arrows shoot at the walls. Like, did not expect to see that in the mansion,
Oh
but
yeah, I forgot. I was just looking at it as a general concept. I forgot that there was
yeah,
the arrow.
it literally traps that like kill the dolls that like are too smart and try to escape. That's interesting. Presumably they would. Yeah, I guess that would just be like a way to like filter out like the duds immediately by just like, oh yeah, any of them that are like too smart for their own good get killed when they try to run away.
I also love the focus on like the mental state of the dolls with like Ram, the doll that sucks at everything, and she's just like and it's just really good coverage on
And
just
it
like
seems like her and
just
her
feeling
shadow like
the world.
literally do not speak, which that's not going to go well.
Wait,
Maybe like the one scene we see her in the room with her shadow, like they don't say a word to each other.
oh, I don't even remember that scene.
I gotta wonder if like maybe her shadow's just like given up on there being any chance of her like succeeding in the debut, so she's just like accepted the
Oh
fact that
wow,
oh yeah, we're just both about to die soon, and she just like
yeah.
flat out said it, and that's why Rem there's so depressed because she's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be killed in like a few weeks, and
Remember,
there's
none of the
nothing I can
dolls
do about it.
know. None of the dolls seem to know. I don't think.
Or like I think they've been told like, or I think it's like common knowledge that like quote unquote like if you fail the debut then you're disposed of, whatever that
Yeah,
means. I think we can infer what that means, but
yeah. But I
it
wonder, like, because these dolls are most of them seem to be quite naive. So I don't think. I mean, some might be keen on it, but I don't feel like. I feel like Rams is just more. She's like feels bad that she can't do her job well. Not that she's going. Not the punishment for it, but I feel like it's more of an internal.
or one way or
I
another
thought it
she's not
was
receiving
internal
any.
feeling worthless, not about what people do to you because you're worthless, but just the feeling of being worthless. And I thought that was like sort of what her point was,
I think so,
and her.
and I'm sure part of it is like probably abuse from her shadow master. Either
Hmm.
that or either like abuse or neglect from her shadow master. and that's like she has no confidence and no aptitude because of
for
it.
me, it was just like her. I thought it's just her frustration with her own inaptitude, like based on results, not necessarily her treatment. I don't know.
I wonder. I bet they'll dive into that more. Versus what's his name? Asshole boy, who he seems to be like really chummy with his Shadow Master, and like the two of them are like gonna ace the debut for sure. On
Yeah.
on
They
like the
got that
other
synergy
end of the
going.
spectrum. So I guess it's
I-
like, I guess the debut is just gonna be like finding out how well your shadow and your face
What
mesh.
else? Like, there's the part where there was bread in her pocket. It reminded me of like the Napoleon Dynamite tots in the pocket.
Yeah, oh
thing.
my gosh. Quit
I
kicking
don't know
my
why.
tots.
Yeah, that's what the bread in the pocket was like, and then Sean laughed at her. So
Yeah, that was kind
yeah,
of funny. I like him.
same.
He's a fun addition to the cast. Did we
Why do
get
you
to?
have
I
bread
forget. Did we
in
get to
the
see
pocket?
him with his Shadow Master, or nah? He talked about his shadow a lot,
I don't
but
remember.
like he talked to him about it a lot, and it seems like he's got his head on straight and just like, oh yeah, priority one is like
Wait, does Barbie have a
synchronize with
mouse, or
them.
is it just like one of the dolls that?
Hmm?
I wonder.
I don't, probably, but we just don't get any significant detail on that front.
Hmm.
Ooh, I wonder if they're gonna tie in something with You remember the Veiled dolls we saw earlier? Maybe those are the rejects for ones that failed the
Oh,
debut,
maybe.
and they like, I don't know, like cut their tongue out or something so they can't talk, or some other horrible thing like that, um, or like just brain wipe them entirely. Who knows? But like I bet you that's where they get those from. Like they're just like the rejects get turned into like the lowest level servants. And presumably they don't have shadows because their shadows are just like disposed of.
Yep. All in all, bombshell of an episode. A lot of stuff happened. Really looking
Very
forward to
interesting.
this episode. Next
Definitely want to
episode's
know where
gonna be
this goes.
a bombshell, probably.
Yep, this show is amazing and it's the highlight of the season.
I disagree.
I don't think it's the highlight, but it's definitely a contender for one of the best.
Yep, you'll see.
I suppose we shall.
Okay, moving on to SSSSSSSSSSS.Dynazenon. Yeah.
This sure was an episode.
They were like sick, and then Chisei was like, "I'm gonna fight," and then she suck.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I don't think they'll be letting her pilot anytime soon, which, okay.
I was wondering if she was ever gonna do anything, or she was just like a mascot. But they at least tried.
Maybe they'll make her like an emergency backup in like down the road. Like, oh yeah, we've trained her, but eh. So I
That was
guess they
kinda
want to
funny.
like,
I was like, and she's like, "It's time for my turn to show off."
and then
She's like,
failed entirely.
yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of nice. They're like trying to build like a romance plot between main guy and main girl. There, neat, because I thought that kind of wasn't gonna go anywhere after the first episode, and her whole thing with like making dates with the guys and then just ditching them.
Yep.
But it seems like they're starting to get attached to each other, so that's neat. How about the one of the eugenicists just like becoming a transfer student at their school?
Oh yeah.
Like
It's
it's
just like
I think it's so funny how
they just like it's just all the stuff that anime does, and it's
yeah,
just like,
like
oh, there's
Yeah,
student.
that is the first time I actually saw the transfer student trope brought up. Like,
yeah,
in the most wackiest form.
I
Like,
love how they
this
just
is
like the kaiju eugenicists just like casually hang around town and get up to like normal people. Like they're just like eating in some diner in their like full uniforms and no one thinks it's
Yeah,
weird.
I love it. I love the full
Or like
costume.
yeah, they're always wearing the full costume and nobody cares. Or like, oh yeah, here's your new transfer student, and like there's 3 transfer students and the other 2 are just wearing normal stuff, and here he is in his like full like kaiju uniform. And then he just goes to like casually hang out with our main characters and just like talk and become friends.
Yeah, I love it. It's so anime where you have like the full costume, and nobody
Yes.
reacts. I love it. I don't know.
Is that main character energy. They all have it. I like that.
Yeah.
But so that's did much I guess what he talked about a bit, like why do you think fighting kaijus is like good and important? Like what's in why do you fight? What's in this for you? That like that's kind of interesting, I guess, to bring
Big
up.
robot punch. We don't need a reason.
Like that
We get
seems like
robot
what
and
he
we
was saying. Like he's like, are you really that
cool.
good of a person if you want to just fight for fighting's sake? Which is sort of the energy we as the audience have right now. Like, yeah, I guess we never really thought about this. Just like, but I mean, like, on the other hand, though, that's a really dumb question because they're literally just like, these people turn the kaijus into like city vaporizing monsters.
Yeah.
I will note of interest is that one kaiju.
I are the energy of this show. I
Yeah.
love that it's like serious, but it's not at all. And they just like it's just
This is
like,
not a very serious show whatsoever. Like they take all of the like the big dramatic character stuff and robot fights and just turn it like super casual.
but like
and
did they
people
have
do-
the drama? They use the drama for like the high school relationships. But, like
Exactly.
the fights are just like the cool fight. Yeah, big fight. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I will say an interesting little note is you saw when the our turtle kaiju this episode first appeared, and he wasn't all that big, and then he got turned big, I guess, by the kaiju users. So like, is that a thing that like them being giant monsters is because of our antagonists here?
I don't know. I don't think much while watching this show.
Like I wonder if like all of the conflict is just because pink hair guy and the other four of them are having a falling out and they're just taking it out on each other and everyone else is just like caught up in the middle. And it's the only reason this whole conflict is happening. Like otherwise these kaijus would just be like small creatures that wouldn't really matter all that much and could be dealt with easily and aren't particularly aggressive. And it's just that both the heroes and villains are like taking a situation that could be totally under control and like escalating it to like apocalyptic proportions just because they have a grudge.
No idea. I mean, I literally like the show does not put me in thinking cap mode. I just think, oh,
Action,
there's
go.
another
Wee.
and they transform into big toy robot, and then they punch. Oh, and there's high school drama, and it's like, oh no, are they gonna date? Oh, yeah, that's that. My mind is like completely away from not even considering why things are happening. It's just like,
I think that's what the show is going to try and do is be like, it's lulling you into a false sense of security of like, oh yeah, over the top drama action.
actually make things matter or
And-
something. Then
And they're going to make like, they're going to turn the consequences of this real like well into the show's runtime. Like I bet like halfway through the season, that's when they're going to start being
have
like,
some big turning point moment with like 3 episodes to go, and then
yeah,
have like
like
the final.
like something's going to happen and it's not going to just be like fun and games anymore. Like it's going to
And then
turn
you have the
serious.
sort of
And then
final rundown episodes following that, where that's always fun when shows do that too. Yeah.
So I feel like there's a possibility that could have, or one way or another, they're going to like make the audience question like,
Wait, it's
Is all
Trigger.
this-
They have to go to space, right? It's going to go to space.
they already went to space once. They just flew up there in one of the last
Oh
fights.
yeah, they did. I don't even remember. Like it was to fight the dude, but I forget what happened.
The exploding one, because it can't make explosions without oxygen.
Oh, okay.
This one's power was like super weird, just like turning things into holograms. I will give the show that like the creature designs are like cool and unique and interesting, and like I love like the bright colors on them.
Actually, I just think that all the
And-
character design too.
Yeah, and like all of the kaiju powers are like really like bizarre and esoteric, and that makes things interesting because it's like
Yeah, it's just fun. It's a fun big
Yeah.
robot fight show. I don't know. I like it. It's
I think I feel like the show is like trying to like lure us into a trap of like, oh yeah, just turn off your brain for big dumb robot action show, but then like some real shit's gonna happen later. But we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Tokyo Revengers. Episode
Ooh, this
4.
was a really good episode. I've
We
li-
finally got the definite going back and forth loop established.
yeah.
That's
So he's yeah, I guess and it's interesting because it seems like him and the detective brother are the only two that have they're unaltered by the events in the past, but everything else around them changes.
yeah.
Because like they did
Yeah, that's fun to watch.
yeah, like his
Yeah.
buddy who would have stabbed the guy and then gone to jail didn't, and now is like now he becomes a main player in this gang that like originally he wasn't, and cop guy didn't know that either. I guess he had to like go find that out. So I think that'll be interesting. Every time they go back to the future, they're gonna have to like sit down for a bit and find out what has changed and like do some research and then act on it. So this is exactly what I was hoping the show would do, is like you do some stuff in the past and then once in a while go back to the future to like check in and see on how things have changed. So very interesting.
Yeah, my frustration with this show is like the content is very interesting, but somehow the execution falls flat for me. Like in the moment towards the end of the show is like trying to be emotional, and for some reason it felt really cheesy, and I don't know how to put it on it. And so I guess the best comparison I can make is like 86. The content was boring, but the delivery was good. And with this, the content was interesting, but the delivery was bad for me. Um, that like because I specifically wrote down that like comparing like how I felt while watching like 86, it was like, oh, this is kind of slow. But I wrote not cheesy or somehow off like Tokyo Revengers, just long.
I
And
wonder if
and
it's
somehow
just
like the emotional part at the end of this episode just felt like melodramatic or something, and it was just like
I wonder if it's just because
I
this
don't
show
know.
is moving too fast. Like it needs a bit more time to like it's so much is happening all at once, and like they drop you in the past and you have to build the character relationships with like between the main guy and his four friends, and now the two guys who are like he's buddies with, who are like the two heads of the gang who aren't the bad one, and also like a bunch of other like minor like you have to build all those relationships and be like, oh yeah, we've been friends for so long, but we're only a few episodes in, so you just have to like take our word for it.
I guess for me, it's more like how it was. It's got to be like how that the music use, literally just the composition, or I can't really put exactly
Oh, I see
why.
what you mean. Just like the
It just
direction.
felt like it was trying to be sad or something, and it felt forced. And it's not the first time I felt that way while watching this show. I feel like this show is good writing wise, but maybe the direction is like forcing emotion too much in certain moments that makes it hard, like makes it less enjoyable for me. So
Like you can
I
tell when
feel
they're
like the
playing it up,
content
and
is
sometimes they do it a
there's no
little bit too
issues with
much.
the content for me. Like the content and what's
Yeah.
happening is cool, but somehow the way the music plays during emotional scenes and then the way some of that's handled feels kind of cheesy to me. And I guess it can only be attributed to direction. I guess I don't know. It's
Yeah.
something feels off, and my impression of the show is going down, even though the content is good. I don't know.
It's weird. I will say though, I'm personally like too invested in the story, and also I guess just in the premise to like
So you just
dismiss it
like
out of
down.
hand. Like I am in for this. Like I'm
You
like
want to see how
they've
this
set up a
turns
very
out.
like they've set up a very interesting scenario, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out. I assume the next episode's going to involve them doing a bit more research and then sending him back, and then him trying to continue on his mission. It seems like all signs are pointing towards just the other gang leader, the one with the glasses. He's the one who's responsible for literally everything bad, and how they deal with him is going to be the remainder of the story here. Like, how do we
Yeah.
make sure that he doesn't become friends with Mikey and start the gang, and that leads to everything going wrong.
It's definitely good setup. I'm just like over time I've liked the show less and less just because of the way it handles
Big
like the
moments.
emotional moments,
Yeah.
and I feel kind of like it gives me like a cringy, cheesy feeling, and it's so bad because the content is interesting. I
Do you think
like
it's
the
one of those, like, if you went back and like read the original source material, it would probably be better?
yeah, I think it might be something like that where
Like
if I like
maybe anime is not
it would
the
be
best
better than
vehicle for
the
this story.
anime. For me, it's mostly the way they use the music and
Okay. So it's
and
mainly
it just
just the direction.
it feels like they're trying to force you to be like emotional a little too much.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm too interested to find out where this goes to like deduct too many points from it from that. But I don't know. I guess we'll see.
JNES, you have
I
anything
can
to say?
see. Yeah, I can.
I think I can understand where you're going, Mike. And while I am
Exactly.
generally invested in the story, yeah, I'm invested in trying to see where the story will go on a long-term basis. I think I am kind of like in the middle of where Modern and Friggin is in terms of being invested in the now moments. I suppose I'm just wondering like how long it's just gonna. I think it's just gonna take a couple weeks in the story for me to like decide whether this story is gonna like maintain its rhythm or if it's just gonna start dragging on for too long.
Okay, yeah, because it might be like a is the source material like a long running manga or something?
I have a feeling it kinda is from the fact that it doesn't have like a certain episode count, so I think it's probably gonna be a long running series.
Yeah, but I mean, I wonder is the source material done or not? I guess if we don't know, we don't know. But
I suppose we
Yeah.
can investigate this and report back our
yeah,
findings next week.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Anyway,
makes sense.
move on to the final show. Got Vivy episode 4.
Ooh, this
Mm.
was a good one. Um,
Yeah, I can see what you mean by enjoying the show. I didn't get what you were saying last week, but at the end of the episode with the Sunset Universe and the AI was just carrying on their duty even as they were dying in their last breath. That got me. I'm enjoying the show more now.
I actually teared up in two times in the same episode. Like there
Oh,
was like a
you
good drop in with the music in the fight, and then that part at the end that you talked to. Both,
yeah, that Sakuga was pretty intense.
well, not the Sakuga, the not. I mean, not that part. There's a later part that's in the same fight where like the music rises after I don't even remember her name. Like gives her little speech about why she's doing what she's doing, and then like they did a nice. This is what I call good directing as opposed to Tokyo Revengers, which is where like the music made me feel bad about Tokyo. The music in this was perfect. Like
well, I feel
I was
like
like it just
with this
it was
show,
like
because it's based on singing, like the music has to be perfect because oftentimes it is diegetic and like it's kind of critical to the plot. So like
well, this was like a standard action soundtrack. It was just used
still,
perfectly.
yeah, I
Yeah,
say
it's
still
like
like they need to take a special care with the soundtrack in this show, and they've been so
well,
far.
it's not the soundtrack. I'd say it's the usage of the
Yeah,
soundtrack
yeah.
and the composition and the timing. This show, I'd say it's excellent, mostly in part to like its direction. Everything's tight and just feels perfect. I don't know, like just it's like it's so good. Like yeah, also crazy action animation that was I just rewatched that so many times after I watched the episode, and
Yeah.
then uh I don't know, it's just more of the same positive feelings from last week. It's just more action and more cool, atmospheric, emotional pseudo philosophical feelings at the end of the episode. Like it's just
Yeah,
it's a
it's
vibe.
like, and it seems like they've kind of got a formula down where every 2 episodes is going to be a different event from a different point along the timeline that leads to the robot uprising. And episode 1's going to like kind of set up the scenario and lead to some like, I guess some like mystery and intrigue as they're trying to figure out like the cause of this event and how to best stop it. And then part 2 is like big action kung fu fight to save the future.
Yeah.
And also have your emotional moments as well. So you kind of get like the whole package every other episode.
But like
in little chunks.
The execution here, like I don't know, the execution is like 10 out of 10 in my like it's so, and I can't. It's hard to discuss in words because I don't know. It's
this show just has a certain feeling about
like you
it.
could have another show doing all the same things, and it could be way worse. But just the execution of how it does these things, it's just, I don't know.
This one feels just like a step above the rest, I would say.
Yeah, I would.
As far as the interplay of everything. The story, the action, the emotional moments, for
me, it's just the ambient vibe and feel of this show in general too. Like it's hitting on so many levels to me. Like,
and I'll say some of the once in a while they do some like really detailed stuff with the android. That scene at the beginning where they find her in the junkyard. And they've got like the zombie androids walking around, and you see this close up of her with like half of her face missing, and you can see some of her robot parts.
Yeah.
And they like zoom in like really high detail. I'm like, ooh.
Oh, fun fact! I learned the author of this is Tape Nagetsuki, the author of Ray Zero, which is just interesting. Fun fact.
Very interesting.
He's a writer.
Well, well done, because this show kicks ass and also has a lot of heart.
I have to whoever the director. I feel like it's both. It's like the concept.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah, Izaki Shinpei.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Which I looked him up and he hasn't done like a lot of stuff. It seems to be his first like
big project, overall. But
yeah. But I definitely will look forward. Yeah. Other stuff. Just the execution of this is so good.
Yeah, it shows that when you have experience, you know
it shows taste.
What you do.
I would say whoever supervised this has taste. I don't know, and of course by that I mean taste that I agree with or stuff I like. But it's still I don't know. It's like tip your hat or whatever. There's something's going on right with this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the last show of this week's discussion. We can move on to the voting. And we have voted, and again we have a unanimous last place vote for what we voted off, and we voted off Godzilla SP, and it is gone. Was less interested.
Just like that.
Gojira!
No, we just wish we could have saw you early in the show.
Yeah, it's a real shame that Godzilla didn't show up in the show called Godzilla by the end of episode 4.
The writers are just too ambitious.
And
or we're just too impatient.
More than the 3-episode test. We're at the 4th episode here, so it's more than enough chance to.
Yeah,
we're a third away through the season. Things are gonna get dicier from here, and who knows? We're probably going to have a few hostile fights in a couple of weeks.
Okay, that's enough. Okay, that's it.
Yep.
And turn next week if you want to know for the 5th.
Oh boy, we're starting to get into slightly more contentious territory. So we will see what's voted off.
It's well, maybe not next week, but it's definitely going to get contentious soon.
Yes, we're starting to get to the actually good shows. So
yeah,
it's coming.
I'm excited because that means I'll have to put more F in my arguments.
Godzilla SP isn't a good anime.
It's not as good Let's just say that it's comparatively not as good.
I'm just trolling. I'm just trolling.
It's
I mean,
just
we
the
all,
way
I put it off last too. I can't speak again. It's not like I'm defending it that well.
All right. Well,
Okay.
we'll see you all next week
Bye.
on
Yep.
Seasonal Anime
See you all.
Survivor.
Dun, dun, dun,
Goodbye.
dun, 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 dun. Bye. Sayonara. じゃあね。